What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 241 of Cocktails in the War Room. I am your host, Mistress Carrie. Welcome to the War Room. This is the 241st time that I've been able to say that. If you are new to the War Room, I want to welcome you to the room in my house that we call the War Room, which is where all of my family's military memorabilia is. And it is also where the bar is and where we've been riding out the craziness of life since March 14th of 2020. We started getting together back in the very early stage of the pandemic. And we got together starting March 14th and we did it 80 nights in a row. Then we launched the Mistress Carrie podcast. And then Cocktails in the War Room became what it is now, which is a weekly show, weeknights at 8:30 Eastern. We get together to talk about the world, talk about music, talk about entertainment headlines, sports, kind of whatever is going on. And then also for me to keep you guys up to date with everything that's going on with the Mistress Carrie podcast, the Mistress Carrie radio show, and there's a lot going on. So first of all, welcome. If you're new, let us know in the comments that this is your first time, and let us know where you're watching from so that the War Room family, as they have named themselves, can welcome you properly. I do want to let you know, coming up later on in the show, I have Avenged Sevenfold tickets to give away and also tickets to see Mudvayne, Coal Chamber, Nonpoint, Butcher Babies, and GWAR. So definitely some cool tickets to win that you can get them right here in the War Room. They are free, and I'll tell you how to get them coming up. So want to say what's up to Michelle and Ash, Rachel and Michael, Mark and Christine are here, Elsa and Jessica, Lisa and Louise. Trina is here. You may hear her. If you're new to the War Room, you don't know what that noise is. If you are OG War Room family, you know exactly what that noise is. My co-host, my partner in crime, the peanut butter to my jelly, the one and only Wednesday the Goth Pug is here in the War Room with me as well. That's where you can find her on Instagram at Wednesday the Goth Pug. We got to get her over 1,000 followers on Instagram. She's close. She's like, I think 50 short or something like that. Tell him, Wednesday. Tell him to follow you on Instagram. Now, I do bribe Wednesday to join us here in the War Room, and she's freaking out right now because she smells the COOKIES in my pocket, which I have to spell out because you know how she gets when I say the word. Sit down. No, sit. Good girl. No, sit. Don't get ahead of the tricks. Paw. Other paw. No, I want the other one. No, I want this one. You are not doing your tricks right. You're not doing your tricks right. I booped your nose. Paw. High five. Sit down. Down. Good girl. Oh, Rachel says, hi, y'all. Mark says, what's up, fuckers? Elsa says, hello, Carrie and Wednesday. Joe says, thank you for showing Maine DJs how it's done. Very informative. You feel like I am back home in Foxborough. Thanks, Joe. And I appreciate you listening to me every day. We'll talk about the radio shows coming up. But Joe listens on 106.3 The Bone in Portland, Maine. Keith wants to know, can I smell the cookie in your pocket? No, Keith, you may not. Mickey says, Wednesday must have been swoobing today. Wednesday has a harder time with the sun heat than she does with the humidity. Because she's so dark, when it's really, really hot and sunny outside, she has a hard time. But when it's just really hot this time of year, I take her out early in the morning when I'm up early in the morning and run her around the yard and get her tired. And then I wait until the end of the day to run her around the yard again. Otherwise, when I take her out, it's super fast just to get her to go to the bathroom. And then I try to play with her inside where there's air conditioning because brachiocephalic dogs, which is what Wednesday is, any short-nosed dog. So if you're talking about French bulldogs, regular bulldogs, pugs, anything with a smushed face is called brachiocephalic. And those dogs do not do well in extreme heat when you get them running around too much. So, hi, Heidi. Let's see. Jen says, Mom, she knows how to smell the cookie. Yes, exactly. Mickey says, I have a Siberian Husky, so we know the drill. Yeah, exactly. And then there are the dogs. Like Wednesday loves to lay in the sun when it comes in through the window. She loves the warmth of the sun, but when she gets outside, it's too hot for her. And the other thing that I do when it gets really this hot, and I don't know how people in Arizona are handling the extreme heat wave that they're having down there, more than 2 weeks of above 110 degree temperatures. What I always do when it's hot like it has been the last few days, I always walk Wednesday barefoot. And if the driveway is too hot for me, it's too hot for her. And so that's how I kind of remind myself to make sure that she's okay. And if it's hot, I carry her across the driveway and into the grass where she runs around and goes to the bathroom to protect her little sensitive paws. You don't look a day over 30, says Jason. Oh, thanks, Jason. Are you talking about me or Wednesday, by the way? What's up, Dawn? Says, good evening, War Room family. I'm going to be 55 on Sunday. Lisa says, it's going to be my birthday. Well, Lisa, we'll make sure we toast to your birthday coming up. Oh my God, the tail, says Christina. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Mary says, mine is brachiocephalic. Yeah, there you go. That's what it's called. I had to learn the term because of the pugs. I do want to tell you guys, by the way, and if you have a Mistress Carrie Backstage Pass, you know this already, but my house guests are still here. So for anybody that's new to the War Room or maybe missed the last couple of weeks, I have family staying with me because one of my cousins has a newborn baby and they actually found mold in the house. They had a burst pipe and they found mold in the house with all this crazy heat. And obviously it's not healthy for them to be at the house. So my cousin, her significant other, the baby, and the dog are all staying at the house with me. And you would think that Wednesday would be fixated on the other dog in the house, whose name is Charlie, and she's amazing. Get down. But Wednesday is more fixated on the baby. My 10-week-old nephew, Dax, is the cutest nugget on the planet. I've been putting pictures up on Facebook. I bought him a Guns N' Roses sweatshirt recently. And Wednesday, you bring up the tail. That's what made me think of it. Whenever Dax is around, Wednesday's tail wags faster than I've ever seen it. She wants to go and put her little chin on him. She naps with him. She just wants to lick him. She licks his toes. She licks his hand. She wants to lick his face, his head. It's so adorable. Get dog Crocs for Wednesday. She would hate it. She really would. And Mike Shue would make fun of her forever. I just carry her across the driveway. She also doesn't like getting her paws wet when it's raining, but I make her go outside when it's raining. Pugs don't like to get wet. Some dogs don't mind it. She does. But she knows when she needs to go outside that she's going to get wet. But I have a special dog chamois, and I dry her off. And are they staying in your mom's room? Christina wants to know. Yeah, they actually. So if you're not new to the War Room, you obviously know that for years my mom lived with me, and she has her own little section of the house. And so when my mom became too ill for me to be able to take care of her anymore, that part of the house became, like where like guests stay when people come from out of town. And it was always kind of known that it was like a life raft for anybody in the family that ever, had an emergency like my cousin has right now. And you find mold in your house, and it's one of those things where they think they've got it isolated and then they find it in a different part of the house. And so they are basically, unfortunately, renovating the whole main level of her house because they just have not been able, once they found the source of the water leak, trying to contain the mold, especially in this moist, wet, really hot time that we're having. It's like the worst time in the world to find mold in your house. And so they've been staying with me, and it's been great. I've been able to spend some quality late night time with my nephew when mom and dad are asleep, and Auntie Carrie is the night owl that stays up all night. But Wednesday has been loving having the baby around, which is really, she becomes so ridiculously adorable. And she's like, I just want to love you. I just want to be close to you. Like, she wants to be next to the baby. She wants to be so close to the baby all the time, to the point where when it's time for everybody on that side of the house to go to bed, we have to put a gate up to keep her from scratching at the door because she just wants to be in there with the baby, right? Do you want to be with Dax all the time? Do you just want to be with the baby all the time? Huh? You like having another dog in the house? You like having a friend? Yeah. So it's been really, really nice. Keith says, proof. Jessica wants to know how your mom is. How's my mom? She's doing okay. Family went and saw her over the weekend. More family went and saw her yesterday and today. And I'll be seeing her this week as well. She's doing okay. It's kind of status quo at this point. So luckily nothing's changed because usually when someone is in the stage of Alzheimer's and dementia that my mom is in, usually the only news you get is bad. And so when you don't hear anything, it means that it's kind of status quo, which is good. So Jonathan says, how has it been up there with all the rain? Jonathan, the rain's been crazy. It's like sunny and hot 1 minute, then the skies open up and it's ridiculously wet, rivers of water, roads flooding, and then the rain stops and the sun comes back out and it's ridiculously humid all over again. It's just been, the weather has been insane. And between the thunder and all the rain and everything, the dogs have not been enjoying that. So Jessica says, mold is really bad for your health, especially when you have breathing issues or your immune system is bad. So yeah, so having a 10-week-old baby in a house that has mold in it is just not a good situation. And so that's why we've got the house guests, which have been really great for me. It's been awesome to have them around. I'm sure they want to be back in their house again, and they will be soon. I know that they're making progress on the renovations and stuff, but in the meantime, it's nice having family around. So it's been a welcome distraction. And, you know, we've talked about it in the past. Anytime, there's any kind of loss in the family, anytime there's any level of great illness in the family, the addition of a new baby is always the most welcome distraction and this gift that the family gets to kind of have a reason that forces them to be happy. And so that's exactly what the baby has been. So it's been awesome. Christine says it sounds like Florida weather. It is a lot like Florida weather up here. It's been in the 80s. I mean, it hasn't been, we have had days that have been really hot and humid in the 90s, but just the rainstorms, the amount of rain. Vermont was flooding. They got 9 inches of rain in a day. That's 2 months worth of rain in a day. And it basically flooded whole towns, which has just been crazy. Jen said, poured Sunday all day in Maine at camp, so much rain. Jonathan said the basement at work has issues with moisture and water and it smells awful. I'm learning a lot about mold remediation because of everything that my cousin's going through and just all of the different treatments that they have to get the moisture out of the house and just trying to contain it so that they can actually start the reconstruction because it's just been brutal. Dave says, family is family. Absolutely. Would you rather have snow? Jason, no. But as I have said many, many times, I will take the snow over heat waves that they're having in Phoenix, Arizona right now. I will take the snow over poisonous snakes and spiders and alligators and all of the other crazy. I'll take the snow over the mudslides and the forest fires. To me, the snow is a nuisance and it's annoying after a while, but I don't dread it the way that, like, I would rather snow than tornadoes. I would rather snow than earthquakes. I would rather snow than massive, direct hits like in the Gulf of major hurricanes. I'll take the snow. I'm fine with it. I binge watch Netflix in the wintertime. I do a lot of baking in the wintertime. I sleep in the wintertime. I'll take the snow. I'm fine with it. Plus, anything over 78 degrees is offensive. So I deal with the heat right now, but the humidity is, I don't know how people like in Florida and like down on the Gulf Coast handle the level of humidity. Like I went on vacation after I graduated from college to Savannah. I think I told you guys like the Forrest Gump story and stuff. I went to Savannah in July and literally thought that I was just going to melt like a candle and burst into flames. It was just oppressive, just brutal. Louise says, I love the snow. I'll take the snow. Elsa says, I hate driving in the snow. Doesn't bother me. 4-wheel drive, I'm fine. Keith says, nah, give me 100 degrees. Keith, you can take it. I want nothing to do with 100 degrees. Nothing in the garden wants to grow in 100 degrees. Unless you're literally submerged in water up to your neck with a head covered in sunscreen, it's just not inhabitable. And otherwise, you're just stuck inside with the air conditioning. And if you're going to be stuck inside from extreme heat, what's the difference of being stuck inside with the snow? To me, not much besides paying the plow guy. Rachel says, my friend in Arizona has evacuation backpacks for her and the kids by the door because the fires there the last few days, they were told to be prepared to drop everything and go. Never mind getting stuck in traffic and your engine overheating. I mean, the sitting temperature in the shade is 110. Like, it's insane. Like, even just trying to get your animals to go outside. Heaven forbid you have a power outage. There's just no way to function that way. It's insane. Jessica says, I'll take the cold weather. It's perfect for me. I hear you. My mom wants me to move to Arizona with them. She says it's a dry heat. So is my oven, but I don't want to live in it. Exactly. When I landed in Kuwait in 2006, before I made my way north into Iraq and going to Baghdad, I landed in Kuwait. And everything indoors in Kuwait is air conditioned, obviously. So we landed at the Kuwait airport and went through immigration, customs, baggage claim, all of that stuff. And then I met my military liaisons and they took me outside. And we were in a parking garage, so it was shaded and it was 123 degrees. And I was like, what the fuck? And they were like, oh yeah, you're not even in the sun yet. And being in the sun with a Kevlar helmet, long sleeves, pants, boots, heavy socks, body armor, I came close to getting heat stroke really bad one day. We were on a convoy going from one side of Baghdad to the other, and we stopped at the crossed swords in the parade grounds, and I was out in the sun for hours. And ever since then, my tolerance for the heat has not been the same. It's just brutal. Let's see, 110 degrees in an airplane, stuck on the runway in Vegas for hours. To me, that should be illegal. They should bring one of those staircases out to the plane and let you deplane and bring you inside in the shade, because that's just ridiculous. My cousin in Florida won't go in her pool if it's less than 84. I don't want to go in the pool if it's 84. That's too hot. Anybody that grew up going in the ocean in New England as a kid when it was barely 55 degrees, 85 degree ocean water isn't refreshing to me. It's like I need to be tortured with the cold water. I need to have like the purple lips when we were kids and you're like shivering and you're turning blue and your parents are like, you need to get out of the water. And you're like, oh, I don't want to. Like, to me, that's what swimming is. But it's just because we were tortured as children. Rachel Clancy says, you rock for all of the work that you do with the military. Thank you. I do want to let you guys know, I want to put a plug in, and I'll be posting up more stuff on my social media pages. But if you go to my event calendar at mistresscarrie.com, the Run to Home Base is happening on Saturday morning at Fenway Park. So if you're not familiar with the Run to Home Base, a few weeks ago when we took the show on deployment, the Run to Home Base is an event. It's a 5.4 mile 9K road race through Boston, leaving from Jersey Street next to Fenway, finishing up by running over the warning track into left field at Fenway in front of the Monster, and then getting your picture taken crossing home plate at Fenway. And it's the 14th annual Run to Home Base, and it benefits the Home Base program, which is a partnership between the Boston Red Sox and Mass General Hospital. And it's there to treat the invisible wounds of war for all generations and eras of veterans, and to treat veterans' families. And so this is an organization that I have been very active with since their inception. I ran the first Run to Home Base, and it's an amazing organization. This year specifically, they are highlighting soft programs, which is what General Hammond a few weeks ago in the War Room was talking about. So all the special operations forces, they are developing special programs for the traumatic brain injuries and the post-traumatic stress for veterans that have been working under a more rigorous tempo since 9/11 and before. And so what the Run to Home Base is doing, the race starts early in the morning because they have to close roads. They close the Mass Ave Bridge. The race goes up and down Memorial Drive. They have to close Lansdowne Street. Like, there's a lot of roads that get closed. So they run it early on Saturday morning. They are doing a special thing at Fenway Park where Navy SEAL veterans are actually skydiving into Fenway Park first thing in the morning at like 6:45 to be the opening ceremony of the Run to Home Base. Fenway Park will be open to the public, free for families during the Run to Home Base. The trophies will be there. Wally and Tessie will be there. They'll have refreshments. You can walk around the park and take all the pictures you want. There's a lot of military representatives that are going to be there, and thousands of runners are going to be there who have all raised money for these specific programs at the home base program. Then they close the park, clean the park, and there's a Red Sox game Saturday afternoon. If you're watching the game on Saturday afternoon, or you happen to have tickets to go see the Sox on Saturday afternoon, there's going to be a pre-game ceremony celebrating special operations forces from all branches of United States Special Operations. And I'm going to the game, super excited. And there are going to be a lot of members of the special operations community that are going to be there out on the field for a pregame ceremony. Members of the Special Operations Command and forces are going to be throwing out the first pitch at the game. And there are going to be a lot of people that I am very close with that are going to be at the game in uniform. So keep your eyes out for that. But if you're looking for something to do, and according to the forecast, it's going to be really warm and sunny, a beautiful day to be in Boston. But if you're looking for something for free to do with the kids on Saturday morning, if you don't mind getting up early, go to Fenway Park. The skydivers, the Navy SEALs are jumping in before the race at like 6:45, which is really, really cool. By the way, in order for them to do that, they have to close air traffic over the city of Boston for the skydiving plane. So they have to do it early, and they can't take long because they need to obviously open the airspace back up. But to get a chance to kind of roam around at will around Fenway Park and take all the pictures in the red chair, take the pictures next to the dugouts and the bullpens. I believe they will let you go up on top of the monster, or they do tours and stuff. Like I said, the mascots are there, and they set up all the World Series trophies so you can take free pictures with the trophies. It's pretty spectacular. So I wanted to make sure I put the plug in for the Run to Home Base because it's happening this Saturday, and you can get all the details. And if you want to make a donation, the links, everything you need to know are up on the event calendar at mistresscarrie.com. All right, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. Because the show is very busy. I got a lot of announcements for you guys. So I want to go over some Pike events with you first, just to get them out of the way here. Come on, hit the button. There we go. All right, coming up fast, about a month from now, 100 FM The Pike's annual Hair Fest at Indian Ranch. This year's headliners, the Four Horsemen, the Metallica tribute. It's happening August 19th in Webster at Indian Ranch. Tickets are available now. Details on the event calendar at mistresscarrie.com. And then on September 9th is the annual Rock Fest. This year, the headliner is Love Sexy, the Prince tribute band. And once again, the details on both of those events are up in the event calendar at mistresscarrie.com. And then speaking of the Pike, their 19th birthday bash is coming up September 2nd at Indian Ranch, featuring George Thorogood and the Destroyers, who are out on the road in celebration of their 50th anniversary, 50 years of rock, and the Pike is turning 19. So George Thorogood is going to be there celebrating the Pike's 19th birthday and George Thorogood and the Destroyers' 50th anniversary, which is pretty spectacular. I want to remind you guys that you can also hear me not only on 100 FM The Pike, but also on 106.3 The Bone in Portland, Maine. And I'm on 3 to 7, just like I am on the Pike, 2 totally different stations, 2 different sets of music, 2 completely different shows. And you can find them at 1063thebone.com. You can download the Bone app. The Mistress Carrie podcast is also available on both radio stations' websites as well. Want to also let you guys know that if you go to mistresscarrie.com, check out the blog. I have the link up there. I was lucky enough to be a guest on the Studio 2009 podcast. It's a really long interview. We talked for like 3 hours, talked about the whole history of my radio career. We talked about podcasting, talked about my interviews, just talked about rock music in general. We talked about technology. So if you want to go and hear me be a guest on a podcast, you can hear me on Studio 2009, and you can get the links and everything you need to know in my blog at mistresscarrie.com. All right, you guys know what copper mugs mean. If you don't, you can always tell what I'm drinking for a cocktail in Cocktails in the War Room based on what it is that I'm drinking. And copper mug means Moscow Mule. Somebody saying, Tom says the Bone. Yes, Mark says the Bone Zone. Yeah, and whenever I talk about anything, like I can't help but make bone jokes. Like I can't help it. It just, if you're going to name a station the Bone and then you're going to hire me, I'm going to make gratuitous bone jokes. I can't help it. All right. I did not get a drink ready for the show tonight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip pages and I'm going to stick my finger in it and give you guys a recipe. So hold on. I'm going to sift through the pages. I'm not going to look. What's the first one that I see? Parson's Nose. Did we do this one before? Parson's Nose. That's really the name of the drink. 2 ounces of vodka, a half an ounce of amaretto, a dash of bitters, and a half an ounce of creme de pêche, which I'm assuming is peach liqueur, cream liqueur. Correct me if I'm wrong. This actually sounds kind of delicious. It says, stir the ingredients in a mixing glass, strain into a martini glass, and serve. So that's vodka, amaretto, creme de pêche. That's peach, right? I don't speak French. And a dash of bitters. And that's called Parson's Nose. I don't know why. That's what she said, said Mark. Carrie, finger where? Yeah, exactly. Let's face it, we are all 12. Of course, we're going to make boner jokes. Tom wants to know where the dog is. She left because I stopped giving her cookies. You guys know how it is. We all thought it said Jacqueline. Yeah, exactly. New people coming into the War Room, coming up, tickets to see Avenged Sevenfold in Mudvayne. So you got to hang out with me. So that one's called Parson's Nose. There you go. There's the drink right there if you want to take a screen grab. There you go. That's your cocktail of the week. We keep a library of cocktail books here in the War Room because we're always looking for ideas for drinks. I want to let you guys know, again, the Backstage Pass holders already know this. I've been teasing to you guys for a while now that I had a trip coming up. And I'm leaving next week. So I wanted to tell you guys what's going on. Yes, we're going to do the show next Tuesday. The week after that, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do the show. I'm bringing stuff with me on my trip to be able to do the show remotely, but I can't promise you that I'm going to be able to do it remotely because I'm going on a motorcycle trip with my husband and I can only take with me what I can put on the bike. So for anybody that knows me, anybody that met me overseas, anybody that's ever traveled with me, anybody that I've ever worked with, you know that when I pack to go someplace, I pack with gusto. And last year for my birthday, I was in Vegas on a business trip. My husband flew out to be with me for the weekend for my birthday. And I told him we've had a lot of, serious discussions because of my mom and her illness. And obviously with COVID, we've all had a lot of time to just kind of self-reflect and think about what's important and things we want to do with our lives. And I have for a lot of years kept a bucket list. Anytime I keep it in the notes section of my phone. Oh, is there a moth flying around in here? I keep my bucket list in the notes section of my phone. And anytime I see something that I think I would really want to do, or I see a friend go someplace that I would love to go to, or just have some experience, I just open my notes and add something to my bucket list. And I had a conversation over my birthday weekend last year with my husband. And I was like, you know what? I'm not checking things off my bucket list as quickly as I'm adding things to my bucket list. And, you know, we're not going to get any younger. And I wanted to start checking things off my bucket list. And so the opportunity came up for my husband and I to go on this motorcycle trip. And so the end of next week, I am leaving. I'm going to actually meet him because we are going on a motorcycle trip through Wyoming and South Dakota. I'm going to go to Sturgis, which is part of the bucket list. I'm going to see Mount Rushmore and Deadwood and go through all the national parks out there. And we are going to, for like 11 days, live off of the motorcycle. Where they're going to have a bunch of other friends that are going to be joining us for the first part of the trip in Wyoming. And then we're meeting up with a different set of friends when we go to Sturgis. And in between, my husband and I are going to have time, just the two of us, to go riding. But he's riding out and back. I can't, because I can't get away that long. So I'm flying out and back. So he's picking me up at the airport on the motorcycle, and we're living off the motorcycle. So I can only bring what I can pack and carry on the bike. So I am bringing a very stripped down war room setup with the option that if that Tuesday night I am able to do the war room from wherever I am, that I will. If I'm not able to set up the computer, I will do everything that I can to go live on my phone to at least be able to take you guys with me a little bit. Obviously, if you have a Mistress Carrie Backstage Pass, you'll be getting the full travel update with all of my travel routes, recommendations, exclusive pictures, suggestions on places to go, places to stay, things to see. And you guys will be able to kind of track me along the way. So no go bags, says Rachel. Well, I can only bring what I can put in the bags. So skip the show, take a vacation, certainly deserve a week away from us. Enjoy your time. Mickey, I plan to, but if there's an opportunity for me to kind of do the war room from someplace cool, I always like being able to bring you guys with me. Now, while I'm away, the podcast will still be live. There will still be new episodes going live every week, but the sit rep will not happen for the week that I'm gone. Because I just won't be able to produce it from the motorcycle. I won't be able to pull it off. Be careful on your trip, says Heidi. Go OG War Room via the phone. It just might happen. And now that I have a new phone, it probably will work a lot better than the old phone I had when I started the War Room. But I do like being able to use the computer because it allows me to put up pictures on the screens. It allows me to put up information on the screens. And it also allows me to set up the event that pops up on my Facebook page and triggers the, hey, the show's starting reminders on Facebook. So, and it also records the show for me onto the device so that I can archive the episode for posterity. I have a whole external drive that I back up all of the War Room episodes on as well. So, no visit to Polar Park next week, or is somebody covering for you? I don't know if anybody's covering for me, but I cannot go to Polar Park next week because I am going to be on vacation. This is the first vacation that my husband and I have taken since he got home from his deployment, where it's just been he and I without the kids. And so it's a lot of things. It's a belated birthday gift. It's a bucket list trip. It's he and I having a chance to go away, just the two of us, since his deployment, which we haven't done since he went away, which P.S. we got married right before he deployed. And we're actually coming up on our 3rd wedding anniversary, and we still haven't gone on a honeymoon yet. So I'm really looking forward to this trip. I cannot wait. So we will meet here in the War Room next week. And then the Tuesday after that, I'll let you guys know. I'll either post up on Facebook and Twitter that we're not going to do a War Room that night, or I'm going to be live from someplace along the way, which I'm super excited for. So don't forget the helmet. Don't you worry about it. The full face helmet will be in full effect. And my helmet has vents, and it also has a thing that you can pull down off the top that lowers sunglasses, kind of like a fighter pilot, like a face thing. So yeah, I'm definitely taking the full face helmet. I've gotten really used to, I never used to skydive with a full face helmet, and I never used to ride my motorcycle with a full face helmet. And I do both of those things now for obvious reasons. Mickey says, bring the blueberry cobblers and the Cheez-Its. There'll definitely be Cheez-Its because I got to fly. And I am going to bring the Cocktails in the War Room t-shirt with me so that I can take pictures so that you guys know that I'm going to be thinking of you on the trip for sure. Maybe Wednesday, your goth pug can host for you, Jessica. Now, the good thing is that I've got people staying at the house with me, and Wednesday is going to be fine. She's got babysitters and a playmate, so we're all good. Let's see. So that is what I wanted to tell you guys about my trip. I'm super excited about it. If you guys have ever gone to Sturgis, if you have suggestions on really scenic ride locations in and around the Sturgis area, if there are specific vendors, obviously I'm researching all of the bands that are playing out there. But if there are specific stores, venues, bars, restaurants, specific routes, touristy stops, things that we should see, because we're going to be all over like Wyoming and South Dakota. So definitely tip me off if there are places you guys think that I should stop. And I will try to do that the best I can. All right, we got to talk about last week's podcast episode. So last week was a return engagement of the one and only Nita Strauss. Episode 162 has Nita talking about her new album, The Call of the Void, and all of the cameo appearances that are on it. Everybody from David Draymond, from Disturbed to Alice Cooper, to Lizzie Hale, Dorothy, and Lilith Czar. Like 3 of the biggest, most badass women, front women in rock and roll are all making guest appearances on Nita Strauss's latest album. Chris Motionless from Motionless in White. The list of cameo appearances is impressive. Now, I literally did this interview with Nita just a few days before the album release party, and she had the album release party at the Whiskey A Go-Go in West Hollywood, and her drummer has been her partner for like 8.5 years. And during the show, he actually went, grabbed the mic, got down on one knee, and proposed to Nita in front of the whole crowd. Now, if you heard this interview, she tells me a whole story. If you were not aware, Nita Strauss is part of the halftime entertainment for all the home games of the LA Chargers. She's got a wireless guitar that she runs out on stage and shreds solos. So when the Chargers won the Super Bowl, she got a Super Bowl ring. And so I was asking her this time around where she's keeping the ring. Does she wear it all the time? And she actually told a story about going out to eat with her now fiance after she got the ring. And he was like, put the ring on, show the waitress. And the waitress thought that she got engaged with a Super Bowl ring. And I said to her, I feel bad for Josh when he actually does propose, having no idea that he was planning on proposing just a few days later. And she actually says in the episode, no, the day that he does that, it'll be my favorite piece of jewelry. I'll never take it off. And then literally a few days later, he got down on one knee and proposed, and they're engaged. She said yes, which is unbelievable. So it's just kind of funny that we were talking about him proposing someday in the episode, and then just a few days later, it ended up happening. Also coming up, Nita Strauss and Wolfgang Van Halen and Mammoth WVH just announced a tour. So I got the tour dates for you coming up in the show. I got all of the details on that. So if you have not checked out episode 162 of the Mistress Carrie podcast, it's available everywhere. New episodes come out every Wednesday, which means tonight at midnight, episode 163 comes out. Oh, yeah. Episode 163 features the one and only George Thorogood, who is celebrating, like I told you earlier, 50 years of rock and headlining 100 FM The Pike's 19th birthday bash coming up in September, on September 2nd at Indian Ranch. And I was so excited when they were like, hey, we want to get George Thorogood on the show. And I was like, oh, 100% you do. Now, every once in a while, the podcast episodes are a little bit shorter than normal. That is the case with this episode. This is a quick one this week. He didn't have a lot of time. He's doing a ton of interviews around this massive 50th anniversary tour, and they really wanted to get him on the show because he's going to be coming to town in September. So I was like, look, I don't care how long I get him. Let me just talk to him. He's George Thorogood. He's a legend. I don't care how long I get him. So this interview is only like 15 or 20 minutes long, but he's a blast. Now, what's funny, what happens a lot of time, a lot of the older artists that come on the show don't like to use Zoom. And the ones that do, that are older, that use Zoom, usually have somebody set it up for him. So in the case of like Alice Cooper, he and I were looking at each other because he has a team that sets up a link. They send a link to me. I click in, and Alice is sitting there in front of the camera, and the backdrop looks great. And I get let into the meeting for like 20 or 30 minutes, and then I leave and somebody else gets let in. And that's how they use Zoom, because a lot of the older artists just don't want to deal with it. Then there are artists that don't want to deal with Zoom at all. And George Thorogood was one of those guys that was like, I do my interviews on the phone. I'm just going to call you. And I was like, George Thorogood's going to call me. So what happens is there's someone that connects us. So he's got a guy that calls me and says, hey, Carrie, are you ready to go? And I say, yes. We do a sound check so that George Thorogood doesn't have to, deal with all of the connecting. They usually tell me he's running a couple minutes late, or he's got a really important interview right after you, so please don't run late or whatever. They'll usually go over specifics and say, hey, did we send you a picture? Like all of the back end kind of coordination. And then they'll say, are you ready to go? And I'll say, yes. And then they'll connect. So when they connect, the intermediary will say, hey, George, this is Mistress Carrie in Boston or Worcester or whatever, because they do so many interviews. They don't have a list in front of them. They just have a guy that keeps them organized and on schedule and on track, and they go. So when the guy connected me and George Thorogood, he said, George, are you ready to go? He's like, yep, absolutely. He's like, okay, this is DJ Mistress Carrie. For some reason, I think George Thorogood thought that DJ Mistress Carrie was my name. So if you listen to this episode, he calls me DJ Mistress Carrie a few times, which is hilarious. So you have to listen really closely for the DJ drops in, hey, Wednesday in the episode, because they are in there. So it's kind of hilarious. But I was super excited to talk to him. He's literally a living legend. The playlist for this week's episode is awesome. It's filled with a lot of blues references. We talked about the music and the era of like the late 60s, early 70s, and why there was just so much amazing music that came out at that time. It's the thing about having house guests. People come and go. Wednesday freaks out. Wednesday! I'm hoping it's them because I want you guys to meet the baby. If I can get them to bring the baby in, oh my God, that would be so awesome. Let's see. Bad to the Bone, 1 bourbon, 1 scotch, 1 beer. Have you spoken to Sully from Godsmack? Is he still on the road? Yes, Sully's still on the road with Godsmack. They're going to be in New England next week. We'll talk about the shows coming up because they made an announcement about who's going to be opening up the tour today. Tastes like licking an old swing set. Yeah, exactly. So I'm super excited. Episode 163 of the Mistress Carrie podcast. goes live at midnight tonight, and it features the one and only George Thorogood. Now, if you subscribe to the Mistress Carrie podcast, not only do you get the weekly numbered episodes, but every weekday you get the sit rep, except when I'm on vacation. Monday through Friday, you get the sit rep. It's around 5 minutes long, sometimes a little long, sometimes a little short. And it's all your rock news, music headlines, entertainment updates, the podcast, the sit rep, all of that available anywhere that you listen to podcasts. So whether you're going to listen on the podcast app on your iPhone, whether you go on Google, you can listen on Spotify, Odyssey, iHeart, Stitcher, they're getting ready to phase out, but Deezer, Overcast, Podbean, CastBox, all of these outlets. Also, you can get every episode of the podcast on YouTube. We are still uploading the back catalog, but the last 30 or 40 episodes are up there, plus all the sit reps. And you can listen to every episode if you just go straight to mistresscarrie.com. There's player buttons that you can just hit, and you can just listen. Holding strong at 149 countries. The Mistress Carrie podcast is worldwide. So if you are in fan clubs of your favorite artists, if you're in chat rooms, if you're on Reddit, do me the favor. Most people find new podcasts to listen to by word of mouth recommendations. It's very rare that somebody stumbles on a new favorite podcast just bumping into it. So please use your social media accounts, share the new episodes. If you're in the fan club of an artist that I have on the show, share the links and retweet the episodes. The best thing that you can do to help me grow the podcast, get to 150 countries, is to help me get the word out about the podcast. Tom wants to know, where's my t-shirt? Tom, a little late, bro, says Keith. I saw you hold your beautiful snake, says Jessica. Wait, what? Let's see. We need to take over Africa. Yeah, no kidding. There's definitely way too many people in Africa that are not listening to the Mistress Carrie podcast. And I believe, is that Iraq? In the Gulf? That's not listening? Somebody in Iraq's got to have seen a Mistress Carrie bumper sticker somewhere around to check out the podcast. So 149 countries and continuing to grow, which I'm super excited about. Okay, if you're celebrating your birthday today, you share your birthday with Darren Malakian from System of a Down, Keith Levine from Public Image Limited, the owner of Virgin Records, Richard Branson, and also Screamin' Jay Hawkins. So if you're celebrating your birthday today, cheers to you. Happy unbirthday, Keith. Who else's birthday was happening this week that we needed to toast to? Sometimes a good ginger beer. Delicious. So good. Is that Iraq or Iraq? Really? Happy unbirthday, Keith, says George. I know somebody's birthday's today. Who were we talking about earlier in the show that was having a birthday? Jessica peeked and covered my eyes, says Jonathan. All right, we got music headlines we got to talk about, because I also want to give you guys a chance to get hooked up with free tickets. The new Stained album coming out in September. It's called Confessions of the Fallen. The new song, Cycle of Hurting. The video came out last week. Dropkick Murphys have got their dates in Maine, New Hampshire, and Connecticut. The final Candlebox album is coming up on August 25th. It's called The Long Goodbye. Working on getting Kevin Martin back onto the show. Corey Taylor's new album, CMF2, is coming out on September 15th. It's so funny. Two different artists recently talked about how their dream rock collaboration is with Corey Taylor. Jelly Roll, who, by the way, is number one again this week on the rock chart with I Need a Favor. And also Demi Lovato, who we talked a lot about on last week's episode of the podcast with Nita Strauss, because Nita plays guitar with Demi. And they both have said in recent interviews, both Jelly Roll and Demi, that they want to collaborate with Corey Taylor. The Britney Spears book, The Woman in Me, the memoir, coming out on October 24th, the tell-all book from the 13 years under her conservatorship. There are some theories that she was paid as much as $15 million in publishing rights for the book, which is crazy. We announced last week that Judas Priest got announced to be taking over for Ozzy on the Power Trip Festival, night number 2 in October in Indio, California. Power Trip is night number 1, Guns N' Roses and Iron Maiden. Night number 2, AC/DC, and now Judas Priest. Night number 3, Metallica and Tool. Mixmaster Mike is opening up for all of the dates of the Godsmacked Stain Tour, including next week at the Xfinity Center and up in Maine, in place of Nothing More, who announced last week that they were dropping out of the tour over some domestic assault issues that lead singer Johnny Hawkins had back in 2021 that recently came to light because his ex-girlfriend started sharing stories about it, I believe on Reddit, that it had all happened, that he had been arrested. All of this happened back in 2021. I interviewed him last year on the podcast, had no idea about any of this. And you guys know how much I like to prepare for my interviews, and nothing came up. And so Nothing More released a statement. Johnny Hawkins released a statement. The band dropped off the Godsmack Stain tour, and they announced today that Mixmaster Mike from the Beastie Boys is going to be taking over the opening slot for Godsmack and Stained, which is pretty huge. And also, if you guys have not looked at the videos, we talked a lot about it last week. The Sphere in Vegas, a new set of videos, a new set of graphics on the exoskeleton of the Sphere. It's unbelievable what they're going to be able to do with this thing. So cool. Okay, shows coming to the Garden. Greta Van Fleet, September 15th. Queen and Adam Lambert, October 15th and 16th. Aerosmith at the Garden with the Black Crowes, New Year's Eve. Tool, November 15th. The Arctic Monkeys on September 3rd. The Eagles are going to be there on September 11th. Those tickets went on sale last Friday at 10 a.m. And Depeche Mode on Halloween. All of those shows coming to the TD Garden. Wednesday. It's probably with the baby. A show got added to Big Night Live. I told you after the interview with Nita came out, she hinted at some fall touring plans in the interview, but she couldn't spill the beans yet. Big Night Live is at the TD Garden. Thrice is going to be there October 11th. The Darkness is going to be there October 17th. Mammoth WVH on a headlining tour with Nita Strauss as direct support at Big Night Live, November 15th. You can get all the details on the concert calendar at mistresscarrie.com. Eric says Lionel Richie in September. I hope Brian May and Roger Taylor will be there. Jessica, they will be. It's Queen and Adam Lambert, but those guys will definitely be there for sure. Night number 1 of Queen sold out. Still tickets available for night number 2. Okay, shows at the Xfinity Center. Avenged Sevenfold, coming up fast, like tomorrow. So if you want last minute tickets, I got them coming up for you tonight. Bret Michaels' Party Gras is happening with Night Ranger, Jefferson Starship, Mark McGrath. That's happening this Friday night. Godsmack and Stained are next Wednesday, July 26th. Mudvayne on July 30th. Coming up, I've got free tickets to that show with Cold Chamber, Nonpoint, Butcher Babies, and GWAR. Jelly Roll, August 4th. Foreigner with Loverboy, August 5th. Disturbed with Breaking Benjamin and Ginger on August 18th. Ghost and Alexixonfire on August 19th. Nickelback, August 22nd. The Offspring with Simple Plan and Sum 41 on September 3rd. Shinedown, Papa Roach, and Spirit Box, September 23rd. These are all up on the events calendar at mistresscarrie.com. And like I told you, you guys never know when I'm going to have tickets to give away. I try really hard to get you guys tickets, not only for the Backstage Pass holders, but also for the War Room family members as well. The Hollywood Vampires had to reschedule their show from May 31st. It's been rescheduled to the end of this month on July 28th. So if you had tickets to the show at the Box Center Wang Theater for Memorial Day weekend, that show's coming up next week. Extreme and Living Color are going to be at Roadrunner on August 5th. Ann Wilson from Heart is going to be at the Wilbur August 27th. Incubus and Bad Flower at Mohegan on August 13th. Tool, not only are they going to be at the TD Garden, but they're also going to be at the SNHU Arena in Manchester, November 13th, and at the Mohegan Sun Arena on November 10th. All of those tickets available now. So busy. The Palladium has got the Sold Out to the Gills Sleep Token show on September 12th, and also the return after 5 years of a hiatus of the New England Metal and Hardcore Festival. That's happening September 15th and 16th. Parkway Drive, headlining night number 1. Lamb of God with Hatebreed and Shadows Fall, headlining night number 2. Those weekend tickets are available now, and all the details are on the concert calendar. The MGM Music Hall at Fenway, constantly adding new shows, including Newfound Glory on August 18th, Mastodon and Gojira, 2 shows, August 20th and 21st, Beck on September 5th, Billy Idol on September 9th, Danzig on September 11th, 3 Days Grace and Chevelle, October 14th, Motionless in White, October 29th, and Porno for Pyros, going on sale to celebrate their 30th anniversary and their first tour in 25 years, are going to be in Boston just in time for Halloween on October 30th, which is going to be insane. I need to go to that show. And coming at the House of Blues on Lansdowne Street in Boston, the Struts on, the Struts are there tonight. Asking Alexandria and The Who with Bad Wolves and 0936 on September 12th, Corey fucking Taylor, September 13th. And this does not take into account all of the other New England shows that you can get on the event calendar at mistresscarrie.com. The shows in Portland, the shows in Bangor, the shows at the Bank of New Hampshire Pavilion, the shows in Manchester, the shows at Hampton Beach Casino, the shows at Mohegan and Foxwoods, the shows in Worcester, the shows in Providence, the shows in Bridgeport, Connecticut, and Hartford. There are so many shows, and the event calendar is constantly getting updated every day when new shows get announced. New releases out this Friday. Greta Van Fleet releasing their highly anticipated third album, Starcatcher. Blur releasing the Ballad of Darren. Niles Lofgren releasing Mountains. Pantera, the complete studio albums, 1990 to 2000. The vinyl box set is coming out. And also this Friday, the day the movie comes out, Barbie the album. Now, the reason why I put that in there, the official soundtrack and the score of the film, because Slash and Wolfgang Van Halen are both featured on the soundtrack and on the score, specifically in the song that Ryan Gosling sings called I'm Just Ken in the movie. So if you're getting dragged to the Barbie movie this weekend with the kids, the song that Ryan Gosling sings, the guitar in that is Wolfgang Van Halen and Slash. Just announced, by the way, Chris Shiflett from the Foo Fighters releasing his new solo album, Lost at Sea, on October 20th. Filter has their new album, The Algorithm, coming out August 25th. And Puddle of Mud releasing their new studio album, Ubiquitous, coming up on September 8th. Mail call. I went to the post office today because I had to go and buy my Powerball ticket because it's $1 billion jackpot. And nothing in the mail call this week. So I'll definitely be bringing some stuff back from my trip in the next couple of weeks, so be on the lookout for that. But mail call address is there if you need it. If you guys, this isn't about just you guys sending me stuff. This is about me giving you guys stuff. So, 2 shows. If you would like to go and see Avenged Sevenfold with Alexixonfire tomorrow night at the Xfinity Center. Yes, I know these are last-minute tickets, but if you would like to go, these are free tickets. Go to mistresscarrie.com, click the Message the Studio button. It's going to ask you to fill out your name, your the subject, and then a message. In the subject line, put Avenged Sevenfold. Tell me that you would like a pair of tickets. When I get done with the show tonight, I'm going to be sending out Avenged Sevenfold tickets to see them tomorrow night at the Xfinity Center with Alexixonfire. These tickets are going to go out first come, first serve, while supplies last. I'll fill as many ticket requests as I can. And when I don't have any more tickets, I can't fill out any more. And if you would like to go see Mudvayne on July 30th at the Xfinity Center with, like I said, Coal Chamber, Nonpoint, GWAR, and Butcher Babies, I'm so bummed out I'm going to miss this show because I'm going to be away on my vacation. Click the Message the Studio button at mistresscarrie.com. Write Mudvayne in the subject line. Send me your full name and your email address and let me know you want Mudvayne tickets. That show is coming up July 30th. So free Avenged Sevenfold tickets, free Mudvayne tickets while supplies last. First come, first serve. Send in your ticket requests now, and I will fill as many of them as I can as a little thank you for joining me every Tuesday night here in the War Room. I want to be able to send you guys to see as many badass shows as I can. Tickets are expensive. It's hard to go to all of the shows you want to go to. So one of the little perks, the Mistress Carrie deals that you get sometimes around the holidays, there's a lot of free tickets to be had. And so good luck. Avenged, Sevenfold, and Mudvayne tickets tonight. MistressCarrie.com, nothing new yet, but we are in development of some new products. And as soon as I get all of the samples in and put in some orders and get ready to put stuff up on the website, I will let you know. I do want to let you guys know that I am going to be out at a couple of events, some motorcycle events coming up in August, where I am going to be out with merch on location. And I'll give you all of the details on those once the times and the dates get confirmed. But I am going to be taking the show out on the road and doing some more events this summer, which I'm super excited about. So if you don't want to order stuff off the website, you want to come get t-shirts and all of that gear in person, I can make that happen. If you do not have a Mistress Carrie Backstage Pass, you get access to a lot of stuff, including a monthly live stream. And we're going to have to figure out how we're going to do this from my vacation as well. So Backstage Pass holders, I will let you know how we're going to pull this off. You can submit podcast interview questions because I tip you off on who's coming up on upcoming episodes of the podcast. You get travel blog updates, which you're going to get next week on my motorcycle trip, early access to event information and tickets, merch discount codes, and you get exclusive concert ticket giveaways. So not only do Backstage Pass holders have access to Avenged, Sevenfold, and Mudvayne tickets, but you also have access to Ghost tickets, Gojira and Mastodon tickets, Nickelback tickets, Godsmack and Stain tickets, Jelly Roll tickets, and Extreme tickets. So membership has its privileges. If you do not have a Mistress Carrie Backstage Pass, go to patreon.com/Mistress Carrie and get your Backstage Pass, or just click on the Patreon logo at mistresscarrie.com, which is just one of the many ways and one of the many places that you can track me down online. So I want to remind you, Twitter, still having some continued issues with my Instagram at Mistress Carrie WAF, which is tied to my new threads at Mistress Carrie WAF. But you can also find me on Facebook, obviously, if you're watching the show live. You can find me on TikTok, on Cameo, YouTube, which is where all of the episodes of the Mistress Carrie podcast go after the fact. And you can find me on Patreon. You can also find me at Mistress Carrie Podcast on Instagram and Threads as well. And if you download the Pike app, you get access to the podcast, and you can also listen live on 100 FM The Pike from Worcester, Massachusetts. And if you download the Bone app, you can listen to me from 106.3 The Bone, and you can also check out the episodes of the Mistress Carrie podcast. And all of the links to everything I always talk about here in the War Room are up at mistresscarrie.com. Going to the Great American Rib Fest to see Slaughter. Fantastic. Wait, you're on Facebook, says Keith. My nail polish is tragic right now. Says, well, love the dueling drum set. I need a Mistress Carrie WAF t-shirt, says Tom. Those are out of print and only available on eBay if you can find one. I have a few that are in my archives, but I'm not parting with them. Let's see. Download the Bone. He says Keith. The jokes write themselves. They really do. So before I let you guys get out of here, don't forget episode 163 of the Mistress Carrie podcast goes live at midnight tonight, featuring the one and only George Thorogood. Cannot wait for you guys to hear this episode. Be listening for the DJ Mistress Carrie references, which are hilarious. And that's it. So episode 241 is tonight. Episode 242 next Tuesday will be here live in the War Room. And then episode 243 will be from the road somewhere. We're just going to have to wing it and find out. But it's going to be an interesting trip. I'm really looking forward to it. I cannot wait to go. Super excited about it. Mark says, seeing my Braves versus the Sox at Fenway. I'll check in next week in the War Room. That is fantastic. Oh, Jason, I did want to bring this up. Jason said, is Creed getting back together? So Creed is announcing their reunion tomorrow. They've been teasing on social media to pay attention on July 19th, which obviously is tomorrow. They're saying they want to bring fans back to 1999. Rumor has it, Creed is going to announce a tour tomorrow. Now, I don't know if it's going to come with a new song. I don't know if it's going to come with an album announcement, but they are going to be doing a tour for the first time in 10 years. So be on the lookout for a massive Creed announcement coming tomorrow. So yes, to answer your question, Creed is getting back together because next year, after the new year, Myles Kennedy is going back out on the road with Slash featuring Myles Kennedy and the Conspirators when the Guns N' Roses tour is over. And so Alter Bridge can't be out on the road because Myles Kennedy is going to be with Godsmack. Listen to me. Slash isn't going to be with Guns N' Roses. So Myles is going to be with Slash, which means that the guys in Alter Bridge, it's all the musicians from Creed minus Scott Stapp adding Myles Kennedy. The way that Audioslave was Rage Against the Machine minus Zach De La Rocha adding Chris Cornell. So Alter Bridge isn't going to be able to tour because Myles is going to be tied up. So they're just bringing Scott Stapp back and going back out on the road, the rest of the band as Creed. It's going to be huge. Mickey Rossi says, I saw Creed with Sevendust in North Carolina a long time ago. All of those guys, so John Connolly, who you heard on the podcast that ran the marathon, he's best friends with Mark Tremonti from Alter Bridge and Creed. So they tour together a lot, which is why Sevendust is touring with Alter Bridge right now, because they're all super close friends and they all live around each other in Florida and hang around when they're not touring, which is going to be all the time. Any Boston dates for Slash? He hasn't announced the tour dates yet. He's just said in recent interviews that after the new year, he's taking he's taking his solo band back out on the road. So we're expecting tour dates from Slash to get announced. I would think by September, he's going to announce those tour dates. I think the last Guns N' Roses dates are in September. And so once they get through those Guns N' Roses dates, I'm sure that there's some kind of agreement amongst Slash, Duff, and Axl about not making massive dates for other projects while Guns N' Roses is out to kind of not take away from the attention. So I'm sure once Guns N' Roses is off the road, he's going to be announcing the dates with Myles after the new year. Saw Creed with Three Doors Down at Great Woods 1,000 years ago. They've been dropping big hints, says Jessica. All of those bands were so huge my high school days in the early 2000s. Yeah. AAF had a Halloween party one year. And it was so funny because it was Creed headlined, I think. Three Doors Down and Nickelback. Those were the three bands at like Royale, which is insane because all three of those bands are so huge now. But that was the show. Nickelback was the opener, by the way. And the picture, if you go digging through my artist archive photo gallery on Facebook, you'll find a picture of Chad Kroeger from Nickelback massaging my feet backstage at that Halloween party like 1,000 years ago. It's hilarious. I think it was the Bigfoot. It might have been the Littlefoot, though. I don't know. That would be cool. I haven't been there yet. Matchbox 20 was mine. Slash better do MGM at Fenway instead of the House of Blues. It just depends. It depends on how many tickets they think they're going to sell. It's very possible he could do the MGM. That venue is bringing in a lot of shows. Just a ton of shows are getting scheduled for there. So, all right, guys, that's it. Episode 241. This is 241, right? Yeah, 241 tonight, 242 next week, 243 from the road on vacation. We got a lot going on. We're going to be really busy. So don't forget, episode 163 goes live tonight at midnight featuring George Thorogood. I will see you guys next week in preparation. I might have to show you guys what I'm packing on the trip next week. I might bring it in here in the war room so you can see how little I am allowed to bring with me on this vacation. So when you guys see all the photos from my vacation, it's going to look like I'm wearing all the same clothes all the time. And that's because I'm going to be. It just is what it is. Keith says, later fuckers. Later fuckers.